Okay, guys, welcome to the podcast takeover. This is the relationship counseling podcast with your host, Mark Coles. Is that all right? Sorry.
Guys, that's probably a very unique introduction to a podcast than usual. But all jokes aside, today is going to be
about me.
Yes, about my lovely lady, Gaby Noble. I speak a lot about relationships on these podcasts, about why it's important to be healthy for the benefit of relationships, business, etc., etc. With that in mind, and due to popular demand from clients, friends, and a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they've asked, can you do a podcast with you and Gaby?
And I've had to. I'm not here to. I'm here as a mediator. These two could have a lovely conversation, but we were uncertain how it would end up. So I'm actually here, unprepared, as more of a mediator, and
referee.
Yeah, I'd say a referee. This is the UFC of podcasts. We have two extremely accomplished athletes fighting and battling for the title of the Kirk Miller Podcast winner. So, ladies and gentlemen watching this today, I guarantee that this will not be a one-sided podcast, or will I say it'll end up trying to be a one-sided podcast. Firstly, I'm delighted that you guys have asked me to be here. This could kill our friendship.
And kill our relationship.
Yeah, it could do.
Yeah, this is, as Mark just said, it's totally unscripted. I know he's got a few questions to give us a little bit of structure.
Don't you worry.
A little bit of structure. But I'll be honest, me and Gaby didn't want to be prepared with this. We want to be fully transparent with every single answer to any question. But I suppose that is serious, but on an even more serious note, one of the intentions with the podcast is to be like an open book when it comes to helping people become their truest self and be their best version of themselves. So,
vulnerable?
The words I was just about to say that word. Vulnerable this is going to be the most vulnerable you're ever going to see me or listen to me on a podcast. Because as Mark and anyone who knows me and Gaby, we're very passionate, headstrong characters. And that's why I did think when we were going to do a podcast together, just me and Gabs, we sort of, a mediator would certainly be helpful with this. So,
well, why don't we kick it off?
Absolutely.
Why don't we kick it off? I know, great friends of myself and Marsha's, both of you are, and I think with you two, there is very, very clear, evident chemistry and energy, and it flows in different directions. But I think for everybody listening, let's just kick it off. Mm-hmm. Like, for people that don't know, how did you both meet?
Gabs, do you want to go first?
I'd like you to remember
sometimes we have slightly twisted versions of how the story met, but my version of the how we met, I moved to London, was it 5 years ago now?
Yeah, he misses a year of our relationship conveniently.
And I'll be fully transparent. I didn't move to London to find a girlfriend. The intention was very, very simple: to expand my personal training business and online training business.
Take over the world, I think.
Yeah, not quite. Well, that was the intention. Completely winging it at that point. And I didn't come to London initially to find love. And me and Gabs were put in contact through a mutual friend, Steve Govia.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm sure Steve will be listening to this when he's aware of me and Gaby doing a podcast together. And I suppose I didn't realise it then, but the first conversation me and Gaby had about her potentially being personal trained by me, I think it escalated to about 45 minutes minimum. So I think maybe I knew at that point that the conversation between us flowed immensely. The energy was very transparent, but there was nothing in it at that point. And then started personal training, Gaby. Then eventually started doing Pilates too. I didn't even know what Pilates was, if I'm ruthlessly honest. I had no desire to do it. And then I did it and thought, okay, this is pretty helpful. And then we both realised very, very quickly that the Kirk coaching Gaby and Gaby coaching Kirk probably didn't have legs long term, Mark.
Just out of interest, when we said long term, is that because of the inability to coach or listen to each other, or was
yes.
it more to do with the chemistry?
A little bit of both. But
Just touch on that.
again, I'm going to throw a hand grenade in early into this podcast. I realised pretty quickly Gaby was uncoachable when it comes to my own
I don't like being told what to do.
personal training standards. Yeah, the chemistry
Could
was.
you just tell everybody listening, just give them an insight into a coaching session with Gaby? Like, how was that? How would you describe Gaby's uncoachability?
In the gym, she was absolutely fantastic. I'll be honest, I say so. I'll take half of that back. Gabs works very hard. You know, she was, because of Pilates, and her technique was as good as anyone I've ever coached. Actually,
You were impressed, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. She was unbelievable. It was just outside of the gym. Yeah, I realised very quickly Gabs wasn't very good at listening to the things I was guiding her to do.
Like not going out, drinking.
But a very. She might have had different personal trainers prior to me, and maybe the standards and weren't quite aligned to each other. So.
And Gaby, from yourself being in the gym,
Yeah.
what was the issue with the outside of the gym thing, with Kirk's degree of control that he wanted over you?
Control.
Yeah.
Remember that word,
Yes.
yeah? I think, though, if I'm being truthful, I love training. I love going to the gym. I've always enjoyed it. But I also love enjoying myself. And that also goes in the gym. Kirk is very serious, especially when it comes to training. So a good tune would come on in the gym and I'd start dancing away. And he wouldn't laugh. He'd really get annoyed with me, right? He would really get annoyed. I'd be like, Kirk, listen, I'm doing the work you're asking me. I just want to enjoy myself. And actually, 5 years later, we're still sort of in the same position. Forget training, but I like enjoying myself a lot. Yeah. And Kirk is really serious. He likes enjoying himself too, but
just not as much as you.
No. But the gym, that was it. And I used to get really upset because he's quite forthright in how he delivers things. And yeah, that didn't really bode well with me.
So at this point, clearly you guys were at this point coach and client. Did a conversation happen at the point where you both said, this isn't working? What happened there? How did it come about where you both kind of went, bada,
we
bada,
blurred
bing?
the lines. We blurred the lines.
Oh, you blurred the lines?
Yeah, we blurred the
Training?
lines. Yeah. Not during training.
Oh, really?
But,
Really?
you know, that
That's where
Kirk had just moved to London, and as someone who's lived in London all my life and knows places and fun places to go, Kirk suggested that we do a Sunday lunch one time. The Stag, which you know, I remember.
So he
it.
made the first move?
Absolutely. You did.
Did he make the first move?
I've got the messages to show it as well. You said, let's book a Sunday roast. I mean, I have to go back in history. I showed him a couple of months ago, didn't I? Confirming how he used to actually be, he used to play the game as well. He used to really speak nicely to me.
So
Send me lovely messages.
was there romance in the early days?
Oh my God,
Romancing?
so much. He was lovely.
Really?
Lovely, because I sometimes question myself, you know.
In the hunting stage?
Yeah. Whatever way you'd
in
like
the
to put
hunting
it.
stage.
Yeah, he was really, really lovely. So kind, flirtatious. Yeah, just made me feel really great.
And so did we get to a point after the Stag where it was, this is not going to necessarily be a coaching relationship?
Yeah, look, I think you have signs. Obviously, as you gather already, me and Gabs are very good at having banter, and one of the biggest reasons I'm with Gabs, and she doesn't like this, even though for me it's a major thing. She makes me laugh. The banter between us is effortless, as you know. But I think you notice signs when we're both making any excuse to maybe message or speak on the phone more regularly, and you realise then that there's a little bit more than...
So let me ask you both. Mm-hmm. 3 qualities that you saw in Gaby then that attracted you to her the most, and I'll ask you the same question.
Energy, absolutely. Energy, big personality. Tenacious, absolutely. You know, just tenacious, driven. I really respected her as well, and I know Mark will elaborate on this in today's podcast. I really respect someone who has a strong work ethic. You know, obviously me and Gaby, as you'll unpack today, come from completely different backgrounds. And you know what she's done with her business was very inspiring. So one of the things I do not like, and I've said this on previous podcasts, is laziness, and yeah, what Gaby's achieved with her business is anything but that. So yeah, that tenaciousness, that drive to actually build a brand the way she has was very inspiring, especially someone new to London. You know, there's a lot of people who've been in the game a lot longer than Gaby with her Pilates, but she's completely overtook so-called industry-leading Pilates studios to put herself at the top. So,
And Gaby?
And I respect that a lot.
I love that. Gaby, what
you,
about Kirk's qualities?
That's
It's
really
very nicely
nice.
put, wasn't it?
And also, it
Very
was really
nice.
nicely and kindly delivered.
Sorry if I've disappointed the viewers and listeners.
This
Got a
actually
little
could
bit
help
emotional
our
for a
relation.
moment.
No, listen. Look, as I'm sure, like me and Gaby are very good at picking holes in each other sometimes as well. It's we wouldn't be together if those weren't the traits. But and so I noticed the drive, especially when I'm so driven myself. I could not be with someone who did not have drive. It just wouldn't.
Lovely.
It just wouldn't happen.
And Gaby, what are kind of 3 traits that you saw in Kirk?
I also found him super inspiring, and that's one of the things that day to day he's constantly inspiring me. And I mean, I'm constantly shocked at how much he goes and goes and goes. And I think his drive, his tenacity, his focus, also kindness. Like, Kirk doesn't give too much energy to too many people. I mean, obviously his clients, but I mean his close knit. But when he cares about someone, he will do anything for them. And he is, just a very, very kind person who I love dearly.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
And just in terms of that, and I think this is important for other people as well, is Kirk what you, the person and his traits and qualities, the type of person that you expected or thought that you would be with?
That's definitely a rhetorical question, Mark. No.
No, I think this is
No,
important.
no,
I think it's important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
like my wife as well. I think if I put it to myself, like who maybe I was expected or thought of to be with, I love her dearly, but we talked about this at the weekend.
Yeah.
It may have been somebody different.
Yeah.
So from, you come from a very successful background and family and people, Kirk has a very different background and people and family. It's not anything to do with success, because success is, multifaceted. But from your own expectations or maybe friends and people, Kirk is who he is, different to what you expected as well, possibly.
Yeah, for sure.
Different.
How?
Give some context to that, guys. Obviously, Gaby is a Belsize Hampstead girl her whole life. Anyone who knows London, for me, it's the most affluent, but also one of the best places in London to live. I'm a council estate kid from Coventry, so completely polar opposites in terms of upbringing.
But I think that's in a lot of people's cases.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just explore this a little bit.
Yeah.
In a lot of situations, people may be with people because that's who they think they should be. When you two first met, internally there may have been some challenges that said, like, this is different to who I'm possibly supposed to be with. Did you face those challenges in your own head, or you were just like, for some reason this feels just right?
Yeah, I mean, Kirk, for me, what I loved so much was that he was really inspired by my drive, where with my background and traditional family background, like, women, should I say, were more family orientated, which I am, but I'm also incredibly work driven. And historically with previous relationships, it didn't always bode well, my drive.
Your success, your drive.
The drive that I had, whereas with Kirk, we were driving one another. I mean, I think that we complement each other so much that we both, and I can say this for both of us, I would say we're both huge influences on the success that we've made ourselves today in business and also individuals. I've grown as a person. Kirk has grown as a person. We're constantly evolving all the time. Something that Kirk taught me as well is to work, a bit deeper, and to, just there's just so many different things that we complement with each other on. There's also things that we don't. But all in all, I think the drive and just how proud we are of each other makes me a bit emotional, but we are, aren't we? We're really proud of what we've achieved and what we're achieving.
From my perspective, and I'll ask you the same question that I just asked Gaby, but from my perspective, you know, you'll very often have somebody in the family who's extremely driven from a parental, maybe let's just go one-sided, and let's say a wife, you know, maybe at home and spends a lot of time at home with family and children, and isn't career driven and financially driven or success driven. And then you may have the man who is, but then on the flip side, you've also got men at home and women who are the driver in financial success. With both of you, you're both driven by business. And if you were to say, well, hold on a minute, that's not supposed to work. Because if you're both driven, where does the line cross whereby... Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I think one of the things where Kirk and I were coming to loggerheads a lot during the early years was he would be like, we can't have two lions in a relationship. Right. And
so are you trying to continually trying to tame each other?
You know what? Like I always fend for myself. I was driven, but I'm also incredibly family orientated, as you know. I can't wait, please God, to be a mum one day and have a family and unit of my own with Kirk. So it's quite a struggle sometimes to combine the two. So to keep driving, but know what actually, evidently, I would love to have as well with Kirk. And so when we spoke about, when he brought up, we can't have two lions in this relationship, it really made me think, let me take a step back, be a little calmer.
And did that make you feel less fulfilled?
No, not at all, actually. I think that not at all. Because I've just been driven all the time, and I've also got an incredible feminine side to me that when you own a business and have a team, it's sometimes hard to merge those two traits together. You know, people don't see me, but I'm crying behind the scenes. I'm emotional. Things get to me. But I remember my client, Mary Porter, said to me, I said, look, this is a struggle I have of being like this driven career woman that everyone sort of looks up to and looks to be inspired by. And at the same time, I just, struggle with the emotional side of things. And she said, that is your power. Women today, it's very hard to merge the two. And I think being in a relationship with Kirk, even though we haven't got to that family side yet, I'm able to bring out the feminine and also the masculine side of being driven because of him.
And from your perspective, you know, I think being a friend of yours, you know, we naturally have seen the fireworks of for what I can only describe as control. I'm not bowing down. I'm not settling down. And yeah, I do as I'm told.
He got me this mug. Yeah,
Gaby's actually got a cup. This is half a joke, but this is part of the banter.
But also the other cup is I love
she's
you.
got a cup. She's holding a cup for those who listen to this. It says I do as I'm told. That was a beautiful gift I got about a year ago at Christmas.
But just going from your perspective, you know, the drive and then the pushing you. Surely you've just alluded to this previously that you find that inspiring to be with somebody who's so driven.
I think the key thing for me, Mark, whether it's a friendship or obviously a personal relationship with Gabs, is I'm inspired by people who live with purpose. People who live with purpose. They're actually up to stuff in life, because you could have someone who is a very successful business owner, but they're doing it, and you know deep down they're doing it purely from a financial standpoint. They're purely doing it because they're just following, like we said in previous conversations and podcasts, Mark. That's what they do. That's what the family did. Whereas, what Gabs is doing, there's meaning, there's purpose behind it. So straight away, that I'm magnetised to that, and I'm magnetised to my clients who are driven by purpose, friends, of course. But where I struggled when I first moved to London, when you are and again, this is where understanding your story is so important in my background. When you know that for me to live the life I want, the impact I want, the influence I have, it's all on me. Team now, of course, helping now, you build something special with more people. But when you're coming from, I've got nothing to fall back on here. When then someone comes into your life like Gaby did, that wasn't part of the script in the first year coming into London. So the struggle was a couple of things, and I'll be transparent, is one, that focused on business, and I have no time to dedicate. That's the story I told myself at that point. No time to dedicate to someone. If I'm moving to London, I need every minute under the sun to grow a business and then try and have some fun. And then also the battle I had, and I know I had a private conversation with you on this, Mark, was Gabs was the first and only relationship I've had that was built on friendship, which was weird to me. You know, I had massive challenges, and I know I had private conversations, even though it was probably 4 or 5 years ago with that, and I struggle with that because up to that point, it was all about how looks and you know, that was the only depth I suppose I really had to.
So let me ask you, what has Gaby challenged you on the most, that you have learned the most about yourself that's complemented the relationship that you have? Not necessarily verbally, but every partner in our world, there's a support and there's a challenge. The challenge is supporting us and guiding us, whether we see it or not. So what is the challenge that you, universally wise or whatever, Gaby has been brought into your world to complement each other? What's the challenge that you've learned the most out of that shaped you for the better?
That you can still be successful and be open to love and allow space for someone to complement your life. And that's that, yeah. Maybe it's a limited belief up to that point.
Look at me, I'm soft.
No, it wasn't to be open to love. You know, you can be successful, and other people can be on that ship with you, really. But that's where I really believe, and I don't want to bring up previous relationship because they all serve their purpose and they're all great people because they teach you what you love about a relationship and what you didn't love about a relationship. They teach you about where you need to learn, where you need to grow. But I'm glad I had a bit of a gap. And I know we spoke about this privately as well, Mark, where I did turn the heat up with the personal development to understand myself more, because otherwise I would have carried the same fucking shit, the same baggage. And I'm not perfect by any means, as Gaby will just pointing the finger. She hates my swearing.
I hate it.
It's
constant.
Listen, I'm a very passionate person, and sometimes, frequently, these words come out. But that for me was, it's okay. Someone can still have some of your time and energy, and if anything, the right person, just like a great friend, a great mentor, will enhance your life and enhance your standards when it comes to driving business. You've got the right partner alongside you, then they will also drive that too. And look, even though that might sound a little bit soppy, and me and Gaby have had enormous ups and downs, as we'll unpack. But the big thing for me is, if I think of, since Gabs has been in my life, I think because of our respective networks, and even though we're in the same industry, our respective networks, and I believe one of the great traits me and Gaby both share is people feel that passion, that energy in our respective fields, hence why we've both been able to attract unbelievable clientele. I mean, the clientele Gaby works with is unbelievable. You know, celebrities, great people, not even just everyone who works through that Excel door is a phenomenal person and a position of high status in a positive way. And I've been able to do the same the last few years. I mean, I'm very blessed to work with some unbelievable people who've made you better, but you don't do that by chance. You can't have the volume of numbers that Gaby works with, I've worked with. And also, if I think of another similarity that me and Gaby have, is she's friends with the global leaders in her field, who maybe she's done a course with them, had a session with them, but then they're magnetized to Gaby. So clearly there's been a mutual benefit to that relationship, even if Gaby hasn't been as experienced as some of these people. If I think of what I've done, exactly the same, Mark. If you think about when I first connected to you, you've been in the industry a long time. Phil Grail, industry a lot longer than me. Don Saladino, great trainers that I've become very good friends with. So I think we've both had a great skill set of people who feel that passion, that rawness, that honesty, and they've helped harness that skill set. And like what Gabs has done, what I've done is I sponge as much as I can off you, sponge as much as I can off Phil, off Don Saladin, people who've just got something that I don't have, and Gaby's doing the same. And we've been able to layer that as part of our identity to make us great coaches, more importantly, great people that people want to do great things with. So if me and Gaby, I know it sounds a bit long-winded the way I've said that, but if we have never met each other, I don't think we'd have accelerated our networks and influence individually and combined at the rate we have.
I love that. And from your perspective, what is the greatest challenge that Kirk's brought into your life that's impacted you the most, universally helped you in a way?
There's two things. What I struggle with, if I'm completely honest, is it's like living in boot camp a lot of the time. You know, his military ways. We talk about star signs and whether or not you're into it or not, okay? But he's a Virgo. I didn't really know much about Virgos. I'm a Gemini. So you couldn't have two polar opposite sort of star signs. He's OCD, like everything needs to be, from the morning when he sets out his vitamins, right? To organizing his desk, right? Just everything. He's constantly writing and organizing. And I'd like to take a little bit of that. There is like obsession with that side, whereas I'm completely the opposite. So I'll go to him and throw all those vitamins in it and mix them about, and the freak out he goes. And I'm the other way, like I'll go with the flow. You know, I'm here, there, I'm like a bit of a social butterfly. If someone says, let's do something this weekend or fly someone here, I'm up for it. Kirk, if it's not in the diary and it's not organized and it's not in it,
that's not quite 100% true, by the way.
But basically, during the day, obviously, we now have Kirk's grown to, an incredible team now that's constantly growing. And I think I've worked, whereas if something happens during the day that's not like what he thinks is going to happen, or, we both stress by it, throwing a curveball. But I think, would you say I'm a little bit better at dealing with that than you?
No.
Oh, really? Are we getting that? Okay, so this is a start. It's really difficult. I'm a bit more laid back, and he's not. And I think that actually, I was thinking about this, like, oh my God, how am I going to articulate this without it being like, but it complements one another. I think he's become a bit more chilled with certain things.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
And I am, like, for example, he constantly reminds me of being, when I'm organized and I prioritize my health before anyone else's, I am in my best state then. So, he's introduced me to journaling more. So I do grateful journals every morning. Also, obviously, being Dubai, it's easier than when I'm in London. But before my day, I look after myself because you've got that 4-hour gap. And I then feel that I can give so much more and better to others when I've looked after myself first. So those are really key things. There's loads of others, but day to day, that organization is paramount and really helps.
Yeah, I think like, even though I've just said no to something Gaby said, no, she's right on part of that. That if you look at our characteristic traits, and I think this is where me and Mark are pretty similar, and most of my friends we love structure, you love organization, etc., etc. But if we didn't have a partner who was a little bit more laid back, I am the guy that could probably work 24 hours straight without even sleeping and not stopping. And I know that isn't healthy either. You need to recover, you need to recharge. So even though we have our challenges with this, because I think if I said yes to every social engagement that Gaby gets invited to, I get invited to, we could do something every single night. And I'm, as Gabs has said, I'm even more than ever very protective on how I dedicate my social time. There's 52 weekends and there's pockets of holidays, so I want to make sure if I'm dedicating that time, it's
I have changed though. I can't do it anymore.
No, exactly that.
the age is
on the
affecting.
flip side, I suppose in a to sort of sum up that part of the conversation, if there was two of me in a relationship, we'd probably have a TV show, military camp. It'd be ridiculous, it'd be too intense. it's be obscene. And if there was two Gabs, then
let me ask you a question then.
it probably wouldn't work either.
For a couple watching this right now, that are both in business, we'll diversify and discuss other topics in a minute. But for two people that are in a relationship that are in business, you two, whether you will agree to this or not, clearly are internally very aware, and you've just expressed it, what value you bring to each other. And regardless of the banter, it's actually something that you both enjoy as well, or else you wouldn't be here. But to a couple that are in this position that are very unaware of their situation, the fact they're both in business, they're both pushing on, neither of them's kind of like giving leeway to anything. What would your advice to be a couple that are both in business together? You seem to have started to really find your feet in this. What would be your number one piece of advice from Gaby, yourself, and Kirk to a couple that find themselves in a relatively new relationship where they're both in business? What would be your number one piece of advice?
For me, it's definitely communication and making sure that you allocate that time to realign yourself. I mean, we talk a lot about values. I know that you've inspired me to rethink what my values are, because they're constantly changing. And I think that's really important as a couple, that you constantly realign yourself and discuss what values and what's important for you. We talk about what we want from one another. I mean, when we say that, like, what days have you got free, or times in the day that we might be able to go for a walk or have lunch together. Obviously, we're fortunate to be able to do that. But generally speaking, I do not see Kirk that much. So that allocated time is so precious, and that we make sure that we communicate and that we're keeping constantly in alignment with one another and our values. Because when we don't do that, I would say that, and then I've then created stories in my head, he has, and that's when we come to blows. And we've both got vicious...
Not physically, by the way.
No,
I think from what you've just said...
but with it being transparent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when we talk, it's great. It's just...
But isn't that in anything in life? And I'll ask your opinion in a second. But in anything in life, the wheels of the bus fall off if it's not been driven correctly. And so with you two, what you're actually saying is, like, it keeps the wheels on the bus when we communicate, which is very normal. And the wheels on the bus do fall off if we don't. But I know that would happen in my relationship, because if I just kept working and did what I wanted to do without respecting Marsha's values, then she would fight me to get control back of the things that she's inspired by. So if we stayed in all day, every day, she'd be like, I'm going to start, I said on this on our podcast earlier, arguments very often happen when somebody's values are not being met, and they shout till they're heard. But that shouting could be just because the sofa's the wrong way around, or because you've not put the washing out, which is so irrelevant.
But those little percentages
things are your opportunity to snap because someone's not being heard. So from your perspective, to anybody who, couple that find themselves in a business, in both inspired by business, what would your advice be? We've got communication from Gaby.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously that's a given, really. I mean, but for me, it's being really specific as well because each week's different, right? In Gaby's business, in my business, some weeks, for example, in the lead up to me planning an event, and you've run these yourself, Mark. I know Gabs has spoke at events and things like that. But when you're running your own event, that isn't the same week as when you're not running an event. So what I'm trying to say is, be as specific as possible in that communication, like Gaby said, with if you have a high pressured week where you need to do a little bit more than normal and you need uninterrupted time, attention, focus, then, but again, where I've been sloppy in the past and not pinpoint, if I haven't articulated that to Gaby, you don't articulate that to your partner, that listen, this day or this day, I need minimal distractions. If you don't communicate that, there's gonna be a problem. So I suppose in a way, it's just like I say to clients, it's like you forward plan as much as possible. If there's not a normal situation, you might be have to think of a different outcome. So yeah. Something
I want to unpick a little bit that you alluded to 10 minutes ago was, and I will say this from an outsider, your success is inspiring, incredibly. Your reputation, what you've done, what you want to continue to do, is phenomenal. And I know it's a deep, deep, deep passion of yours. But we're in the process now of, God willing, becoming parents at some point, and I know you guys are in a similar situation. But how do you deal with the emotion of the success that you want and have already, and the idea that, not that it'll have to slow down, but if your values start to shift towards motherhood at some stage, as a woman who's a business, an entrepreneur, you talked earlier about that challenge of like, what do I do? How do you deal with that? To any woman listening to this, it's incredibly inspiring. You're incredibly gifted and a successful entrepreneur, but as values start to shift, do you find yourself just leaning towards them and it's okay, or have you found a lot of challenge in that?
No, I'm definitely leaning towards it, and also the fact that I have got the most incredible team behind me and work alongside me. One of the challenges that I had was when Kirk made the decision to move to Dubai, and my business and the structure wasn't ready for me to completely move over here. It was something always in the pipeline to have sort of like a number 2 to me, and a head of department for education and studio and all the other things that we're doing. And I just had to accelerate that. So as we sit here right now, I've got the best team I've ever had. And I feel like there's systems in place, not just within business, within personal life, family, ready for, hopefully in the next year or two that we do become parents. I think that's basically, I've implemented systems and the right people to take the business further, because it doesn't matter whether or not I become a mum or where I am, I'm always going to be someone that works. I love to work. I need a purpose. The more time I have to think, the way that my brain works, it's not a positive thing if I don't have accountability, a purpose every day, people to speak with, or and so I will always have that regardless.
So I think, again, I'm picking this a little bit more. The challenge, I think I remember you previously saying to me, the urgency to drive the business forward, it sounds like the business is in a way better place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And therefore that has actually come about from the challenge of he's moving to Dubai.
For sure.
And then I remember the battle stage where you were like, what the hell is he doing? He's not thought about, I know you were very focused on what you want in your life, but as a result of that, it sounds like the business has benefited from Kirk moving to Dubai. Which, just understanding that a little bit more, out of this huge, immense challenge, you seem to have got a better person. You seem to have a better business. You seem to have got clearer on what you want out of life. And you've been able to accommodate that whilst at the same time thinking that there's no place in your life for somebody else while you're trying to build this vehicle. So that comes kind of 360 back to everything that you guys are saying, is that to be successful, is it possible to have the relationship alongside the success that we all want?
I mean, there were times, and obviously this is I'm going to say it how it is. I didn't think that Kirk and I would get through it, to be fair. And that was my taking, because I was so resentful of a decision that he made. Not really, we talk about values, where I wanted to be. I'm incredibly close to my family. They're everything to me. I had businesses on the ground. But it's work, but I had to do a lot of work with myself, with the team, and see also how he responded to what I was doing and supportive.
And do you think that probably for a good few years, before you even met Kirk, there was an element of your life that you wanted to improve, fulfill, or make better, and maybe you'd been delaying that, and then in part of you realized that there was a lot of self-work, and that is accelerated because you two have become together as a partnership. All of this, I'm actually learning a lot from this episode listening, because I'm great friends of you two. And on the outside, I'm not going to lie, how the hell are they going to get through this? But this has been a battle, but also a blessing, because it's given you a challenge and you a challenge that's brought you both together and taught both of you some incredible lessons, but also accelerated many areas of your business because, I'm sure from a business perspective, the idea of the relationship and moving forward and family strengthens your desire and passion to work harder, and it's made you better and organize systems and delegate the business. So from a relationship perspective, it's what was chaos has now come to full circle.
I think we go back to communication, and it's a constant work in progress. I don't think Kirk and I can't sit here now and say we've got it all sussed out. Relationships change. You're on the same journey. Sometimes you go down, I always say to Kirk, sometimes we'll go down a different road, but it's as long as we come back to the same road again, that's what's really important.
And if you don't come back to the same road, your values are not aligned in any way, shape or form, and it's okay to not be together.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I remember saying this, when I saw the battle going on, I'm at peace with that because I'm like, you're both smart enough to realize that if your values don't align, you had to do what was aligned with your values. You actually stayed in London and held on to your values. And it was like, okay, cool. So I've got to do a bit of work on me, or you've got to let go of Dubai and move back to London. But that resistance created the animosity, the fire. But the fire's made you both better because if it didn't happen, you'd move apart. So the fact that you're both together and the fact that it's enriched you is proof to other couples that if you're meant to be together or your values are aligned, it's worth fighting for.
And communicate, though, really important. Like, you have to communicate and don't. One thing that I always, one of the things I was struggling with, sorry, Kirk, is that I thought I have to stay true to myself, what I want from my life. Not what Kirk wants from his life, and that's where we go back to backgrounds, sort of came into play as well. But we spoke and we got through it. And I feel that as a couple, we're stronger than ever. We're both in the same alignment of what we want to do with our businesses and our personal life, for our future. I mean, who knows what the future holds? But as it stands right now, would you say that we're aligned?
No, 100%. Look, I think the key thing for me, Mark, and this is where I'll be. Gabs has been really honest there, and this is what I believe where a lot of couples, friendships, partnerships struggle with. They don't tell the truth, because when it's all said and done, from my side, if we're going to have a combined relationship, I can't bring the best of me if I'm not content and happy in my own mind and doing things for the sake of it because other people say you should live that way, you should do this, you should do that. And I think what's happened with the way our life's evolved the last couple of years, between being Dubai, London, travel here, there and everywhere, is it makes you more effective. And I believe that the way Gabs' business has grown the last few years and mine is it's accelerated the growth of team and basically become more effective, because I think a lot of people, and I was this person, so that, again, I keep saying on these podcasts, there's no judgment. They say they're really, really busy, they've got a lot on. Can you do things significantly more effective than what you're currently doing? Like, look at your time, analyze your time. Are you being as effective as what you could be? Could you be making smarter decisions, right, with your own personal standards, your business, to take you forward to where you want to be a little bit quicker? So, and I look at this, Matt, sorry, mate, is you can't give what you don't have. So if there is not 100% confidence and happiness in my mind, then, as you just said, that is going to flag up at some point with me and Gaby. And I think, yes, you have to make brave decisions sometimes in your life, whether it's logistically, personally, professionally. But if you don't make these brave decisions and you don't act on those feelings, as we've said on a previous podcast, Mark, it'll keep coming back. You're papering over cracks, and ultimately, I think where me and Gabs have come through this is, it's clearly love, and we know what the outcome is we're striving for. And just like in business, it's not always straight line. Like any fat loss journey, it's not going to be a straight line, and relationship isn't the same.
I love that. Do you know what's interesting? Marsha and I, my wife, are very, not scripted, but we have a lot of deep conversations about what we want, where we want to be, if she's okay, if I'm okay, if we're doing things wrong, right or wrong. And to a lot of people watching this or listening to this, God, is that a nice relationship to have, to take it that seriously, to work it out? Like, I want to touch on this because you two have articulated, you're business people, you're entrepreneurs, you're very successful. Firstly, what's carried over from business that you've applied into your application of a relationship? But more so, to anybody listening to this all sounds a bit serious, how you've really worked hard to work it out. Most people just go with the flow. To other couples listening to this, like, you've talked about communication, but is this really necessary to make a relationship work?
Yeah, but I think when you first get with someone, I mean, look, every relationship's different. I mean, obviously we're on a podcast now where it might seem a little bit serious.
But some couples couldn't sit. Some couples cannot sit and articulate what makes their relationship success. Yeah. So therefore, to me, they're drifting through a relationship. Mm-hmm. And it could go through volatile patches at any stage because there's no control. Yeah. You two, whilst you've gone through this challenging phase, know where its ups and downs have been, know where I've been prepared to give and not give, know what you want and not you don't want. And it's not just about communication. Mm-hmm. There's respect, there's values, and they're all being layered upon step by step. But my point was, there's a lot of couples that go, like, this isn't how a relationship should be run. Like, this is a bit serious, too much intent, deep thought into what you're doing with everything.
I mean, that's something I used to say, oh, everything has to be so intense. But actually, we have such fun together, actually to the point that, you know, there's no one else I'd rather be with. I've got the most amazing friends and I love being with them. And if anyone's listening here, this is no disrespect, but I just want to be with him. Yeah. Like, you know, time is so precious. I mean, obviously during lockdown, it wasn't the easiest to be with him permanently. But I think every couple...
Give you some context for listening. So I moved in with Gaby in London.
3 weeks before the first lockdown.
And then the lockdown hit, which I anticipated Mr. Boris Johnson was going to lock everyone down and gyms would be closed. 3 weeks into me being in Gaby's apartment, I ordered... It was about £2,000 worth of fitness superstore dumbbells, kettlebells, and turned her living room into a gym.
Just on this then, because this takes us to a little bit of a funny kind of a time. While you two were in the battle stage, it was through lockdown. Part of your battle stage was lockdown.
But you know what? One of the things, it was. Okay. It was hard.
Okay, cool. Let's discuss that, right? How did you two get through lockdown?
He locked me in rooms. And I'm not joking.
I sound
actually locked me up.
Fucking Hitler here. Give me a break. I mean, we did that once as banter. I don't lock Gaby up, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
I'm going to lock you up if you keep swearing.
You just told me I lock you up.
No, but did you not do it once?
Yeah, I did it once and then you got me back about 10 minutes later.
But on a serious note, he moved into my apartment, which was my girls' pad. I loved it. Right, I've been there for 10 years. It was my space. It was really hard for someone else, and obviously being there so long, like to live with each other. And we did think, oh my God, this isn't normal. You know, I don't think any couple, regardless of how small, big their house is, I don't think it's healthy for couples to see each other all the time, let alone live with each other 24 hours a day. Yeah. And actually, it was when we ended up. We went abroad, didn't we? We went to Dubai and we ended up staying there during lockdown. And we had 2 rooms instead of 1 room. And he made his second room his office. And we got on really well. And we realised it was space that was required. And Dubai had a really good... we had a great relationship with Dubai because of that. Yeah. And
didn't see you as much.
Still don't, darling. Still don't. And
quality time.
Yeah, quality time. But, you know, going back to what you said about serious, we've got to remember Kirk is quite a serious character.
Not all the time.
Not all the time, but generally speaking, you know, there was a reason why you were captain in football and you lead and you have the clients that you do who respect you. There's a reason for that. And I'm not saying that I bring in the fun because he's always, you know, I'm now wanting to go home by 10 o'clock at night. And he's like, what's happened to you? I'm with an old bird these days. But, you know, we have fun, but we enjoy each other's company a lot. You know, we don't have to be going here, there and everywhere. Yeah. But yeah.
So what was the most challenging part of being with Kirk in an apartment through lockdown? What was the thing that Kirk did that challenged you the most? I mean,
he's going to say the same about me, but how loud he was. how loud he is.
No,
What, he's filming his workouts?
The filming, the Zoom calls, we both are obviously loud people, but his is so intense and loud and constant, and that was really challenging. Also, obviously, I don't want to generalize here, but men have different habits to women. And I was stuck. No one could come and help clean the apartment, you know? So...
you had to clean after him?
Yeah, it was just,
Yucky.
Yeah, very yucky.
What was Gaby's biggest frustrating?
Listen, look, let's not sugarcoat this. Me and Gaby both have big mouths, very strong characters, high energy, strong tonalities, and I'm sure a lot of couples will relate to this during that lockdown period, especially those within an apartment. You've got two big mouths in an apartment in London. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of. Can you politely shut up, please?
No, but you know what? Just talking, because we've obviously never had a conversation like this, and that's why I was actually quite nervous. I was like, how's it all? But just listening to everything that Kirk and I have gone through as a couple, it would break a lot of couples.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is a testament to us.
Well, let me ask you that question then. Why have you, genuinely, as a friend to both of you, I respect immensely your commitment to this, because honestly, we've been in situations where there's been a lot of bickering, and I'm like, it's been quite challenging to be with you guys sometimes, where you've been at each other's throats, and I've gone back and I've said to myself, that's tough. But I sit here right now and I just say I'm proud of you guys because you pushed through it. What's made you, through those challenging times, go, I'm not giving in? I'm going to ask you first, because I think, I from an outsider in, looks like it's been pretty hard for you. Why have you not given in?
Because I actually used the situation with Kirk and the challenges to put a mirror to myself and learn. And I mean this honestly, like there's certain things that Kirk challenges me. I can run riot otherwise, you know, and Kirk challenges me, not in a bad way, well, sometimes, but but generally he challenges me to look, and I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm very grateful for that. At the same time, obviously, I always say to him when we're arguing about whether or not he's not tidied up, or, you know, sometimes he goes, I need to sleep in the other room because he's got an early. I'm like, I'm not your flatmate, or I'm not your mate, right? I'm your partner. But I think we cover so many bases. We're very, very passionate people. And I'm really grateful. It's got me through because I actually learned a lot about myself. Didn't think we were going to get through it, completely honestly. But I saw how he worked with me on what was important to me, how he vocalized it. And we've come out the other end like best of friends, not wanting to be away from each other. And it's worked. And I think communication, values, making sure that you're not being who you want to be and who you strive to be. If a relationship is stopping that or making you question, then you need to ask yourself whether or not you're in the right relationship personally. And I haven't had that with Kirk.
I love that. What made you, what's given you the desire to just not give up so far?
I think my character, if I care about something, as you said, as Gaby has said today, if I care about someone and care about someone or something, then my number one brand value, ironically, is perseverance. You know, so it's, if something means something to me, and then.
So I'm part of your brand values.
Absolutely. No, it's no. I just know that Gabs has got my back. I'm sure any person listening to this who's in a great relationship, you know, your person by your side, you want that person through thick and thin to have your back. Anyone can have a great relationship. Anyone can be in a great mood when everything's going super smooth. It's not life.
I think a lot of people have that expectation that a relationship
100%. You live in fairyland the first few months. No shit. you're in a little bit more of a bubble for the first few months, but it's not practical when day-to-day
it's not
life kicks
reality,
in and challenges and things like that. And I thought, no, Gabs has got my back, and I think, if you're in a relationship and you don't have 100% certainty that person's got your back, that when something goes wrong, then you shouldn't be in the relationship.
And I can imagine there's a lot of couples. This is very normal. You two have got a lot of awareness. I'm going to ask you, I truly do believe that success in business carries over hugely to how you conduct yourself as a human being. You're both incredibly successful in what you both do individually.
Yeah.
What business lessons have carried over to the resilience you put into this relationship?
I think I need to do the other way around.
What personal lessons have carried over to business?
Yeah, I think, it's not so much lessons.
The thing is, I look at in business with you.
It's a family. I've created a family in my business, and that's something that I've grown up with. I have been very, very close to my grandparents, my parents. Kirk goes, how many times a day do you need to speak to your mum? But, I think that's a daughter-mother relationship anyway, and it's different for a bloke. I actually speak probably more to your mum than you speak to your own mum. But I think the family environment has gone into my business, and that's why it's so important to me.
But you've got incredible drive in your business.
Yeah.
The traits that you have as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, which ones of those carry over to how you conduct yourself in a relationship with Kirk?
Not always acting as I straight away think.
So you think in business.
Back, right? Take a step back. Don't always say what's I'm thinking straight away, especially from hormonal.
Yeah.
Keep quiet and then ask yourself the same question a day or 2 days after. I have to stop myself a lot in business and in my relationship.
Yeah. So it's not being reactive.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love that. Okay.
How can I make it better? How can I make it better? Just constant state of improvement mentality. It's not getting complacent. I think it's similar traits. I generally think if you're really running a business or in a relationship from a true sense of, like you speak about regularly, values and purpose, then it has to have a deeper meaning. You got to be in the game, and for me, if I think of everything I do on a personal standards, relationships, business, don't always get it right in all of these areas, even individually, is how can I make it better? Like it's never getting complacent, because whether you're in a relationship with a client, your partner, a friend, it's still a relationship, and it doesn't stand still. That for me is just, again, it comes down to standards. I don't dip my toe in anything. If someone is shitty, or if we've had a bad patch, I will take some time away and go, right, what can I do to correct that or be better? And it's asking yourself a better question. But for me, I'm just absolutely obsessed with a constant state of improvement mentality, and I don't just have that hat on in one area. It's just. And that's where maybe sometimes me and Gabs do have that challenge. And sometimes Kirk work and relentless in training. If I haven't had that pit stop and breathing before I speak to Gabs, I know you're in Kirk work mode sometimes still. But in a roundabout kind of way, even with Gabs, I believe I'm the person that even when she's doubted herself or she's let something affect her in certain ways, I will still challenge her. I'm not a yes person. I wouldn't want Gab. Yeah, that's another thing. Me and Gabs, we're not yes people with each other, and I don't think it's normal for any relationship to constantly agree on everything. Or like Gabs is the first to call me out. Maybe call me out, or just tell me if she thinks something could be done better. And I think you need someone who is prepared to say that.
Do you mind me doing that though, honestly?
No, I do. I listen absolutely.
After.
But also, listen, look, do we always agree? Do I always agree with opinion? No. But I'll always acknowledge it. But there will be times, absolutely. One of Gabs' greatest traits is she can see things in people. So she's that soundboard that if I might misjudge a situation, then of course I really value opinion. But I think you need to, if in anything with relationship, it's in business, body, you can't get complacent, and it's how can I make it better? And if you have that mindset, you won't always get it right, but you're going to be in a happier place and align yourself to the outcome you desire if you're asking yourself that question.
I think, go on.
No, I was just about to say, like, anyone listening to this, trust me, I let him get on with it sometimes, and I sort of block certain things out, and I pick my battles, so to speak. And I think any relationship is like that. But I think what's important is to let your partner just do them. Doesn't have to be with you all the time, but just let them do them. It's the same as me. Yeah. He'll laugh at me if I want to go out or do something or go shopping for the third time that week or whatever it is. But just let each other be.
Yeah, you can't tell people, like, you can't tell your partner what to do. Like, it's ridiculous. That never ends well. Whenever Gabs has told me to do something and vice versa, going back to the start of this conversation about why our coaching relationship didn't work. But Gabs can do whatever she wants. I can do whatever I want. And I've seen it in clients over the years when someone has been controlled by their partner. Like I've had clients, Mark, and I'm sure you must have had this too, that over the year they might have left Built to Last because their partner was worried that they were spending too much time and attention with the new people they've met, whether it was virtually or in person. It's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm going to get a money jar. Yeah.
But it's true that too many people, like, you're in the wrong relationship if your partner is preventing you from doing something that's positive and making you feel good, good for yourself and good for other people, and that's helping you become a better version of yourself, which by default will help you give more to the person you care about.
But also, Kirk, it doesn't always work that way. You have to work, like, it's got to be a compromise. You know, if something is upsetting that partner, it doesn't matter how important it is it for you to, it's not about just not being told what to do.
No, I understand that.
Is that sometimes it's important to compromise because that's a relationship. There's two of you.
Well, I think the compromisation aspect is when you realise that your partner's values are being compromised at some point, and a big part of being in a relationship is to respect your partner's values as well as your own, and understand that if I actually say I'm going to go shopping with Gaby, this may allow me to do 4 or 5 days more to work straight through. If I don't go shopping, then I maybe just get interrupted every day until I do.
Absolutely.
You know my point is
so much cleverer. Oh God, my English.
No, but my point with this is the fact that you may say, look, I've got so much on, I need 6 days worth of dedicated work, but the nagging over the next 2, 3, 4 days to go to the beach for the afternoon or do something, it's worth going to the beach. Yes. To actually do that, even if you didn't want to.
And be present.
And say the value of being at the beach for the afternoon or the value of going shopping or doing something actually means that I'm going to get 5 days of complete free work. No, but I think that on that flip side, it's so important that if the thing that you're going to compromise on supports your values in some other way or shape or form, then you end up doing the beach afternoon with complete focus and attention and enjoy it because it actually serves your values on the other end.
I get it. There's a famous Jim Rohn quote who, I mean, he's for me the godfather of personal development. I love this guy. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business leaders struggle with this, myself included. You've probably struggled too, Mark, with this. You know, when you work, you work. When you rest, you rest. When you train, you train. You know, we're all trying to do that. I don't believe anyone has perfect balance in life. I think that's garbage. You know, usually.
I think the balance is what balance means to you. Yeah. If you want to be flat out, that's your balance. Yeah. If you want to go half the week on and half the week off, that's your balance. Yeah. And it's very, very difficult because balance is your own perceived value of balance.
100%.
Like you and I like going flat out.
Yeah, and also
so do I. But one thing actually is it's really hard sometimes because I'm super driven and I don't know when to stop, and I have to really force myself to be with a partner who's equally driven and doesn't know when to stop. It's hard. Like I can't shut off. Or you sometimes think, oh God, I should be working or I could be working. That's where I do think that we need to sort of like.
Well, I suppose, like any business, as you said, A business is an evolving process.
Yeah.
Marsha and I right now have more conversations about how will things change when? How will this happen when? How is this happening right now? And I think it's a naive relationship to just expect it to be the same as it was 5 years ago.
For sure.
Expect it to be the same
We're
as it
both
was a year
different
ago.
people.
Yeah.
But you're constantly changing.
Yeah.
I know I've become a different person since being here.
Yeah.
Now I have to have a sense check, work on my own personal development, tell Marsha what I'm working on, see what she's working on, then have a chat. That's why we have our Gin and Tonic Friday nights. You know,
That would just be a dream.
No,
if
well, we
Kirk
just-
got the gin and tonics out on a Friday night.
well, it's tonic now, but yeah, we have that checkpoint on a Friday where we talk and listen, and whether we get maybe a meal or whatever. But
Yeah.
this has been incredibly insightful.
I'm knackered.
But I want to finish this with a little bit of humor.
Okay.
So what I'd like you both to do, I'd like you with your right arm hand, Gaby, and your left hand, Kirk, to either raise a hand if you feel that the answer applies to you, or point to your partner if the answer applies to your partner.
So with this, because also this is obviously an audio podcast as well, you will have to maybe.
I will say what's happened.
Yes.
I will say what's
And
happened.
for those watching on YouTube, you'll be able to watch.
I
This.
have 10 questions.
Wow, okay.
So if I think it's Gaby, I'd point.
If you think
Gaby.
it's you, point your hand up.
Okay, no problem.
If you think it's Kirk or Gaby, you point to each other.
Okay.
All right?
We have no idea of these questions for the listeners.
Okay. Who is the funniest? Kirk says Kirk, Gaby says Gaby. Who's the most organized? Kirk, both sides, and he agrees with himself. Who wins the most arguments? Gaby and Kirk say the same.
You know what? I take this back. I think Gabs is funnier than me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's funny. A lot of the time it might be from me having banter or winding her up, which I'm really, really good at, but Gabs is very funny.
Who is the tidiest?
No.
Oh, Gabby,
It depends.
you can't be serious.
It depends. No,
You
no.
can't
You're
be
dirtier.
serious.
You're dirtier. You might be tidier,
cannot
but
be
you're dirtier.
serious.
That's it.
You can't be serious.
So Gaby thinks she
Ludicrous.
is, and Kirk thinks he is.
I think he's tidy, maybe tidier, but I'm cleaner.
Oh, there's a big difference here, right?
Massive.
Cleanliness. Who's the
Cleanly-
most clean?
Oh my.
That's question number 11. Who is the cleanest? Gaby.
Come on
feels
now.
that she-
Let's not
Is
go
Gaby
there.
yeah, well, we'll move on. We'll move on. Who is the most spontaneous? Gaby. Who is more romantic? Gaby and Kirk agrees with Gaby. Who is most forgetful? Kirk is rubbish.
Horrendous.
Which is fully agreeable.
No, I mean, we haven't even touched. That's a huge part of Kirk.
Yeah, that's
Terrible.
the worst trait of
Who
me.
drinks more?
I'm more no. I'm more consistent. You're more extreme.
Over a calendar year, who drinks more alcohol?
Over a
Regularly,
calendar
but I
year.
don't-
Over a calendar year. Who
No,
drinks
actually,
more?
I don't think because you've been out with Kirk on a night out.
Very, very
right?
steady.
Steady. He
Yeah,
drinks for a person.
I think starting with shots is steady.
No. Overall units, I think you drink more than me over a year.
We'll agree to disagree on that one. Okay.
Who takes the most selfies?
Are you joking? Hold on, how do you link a set?
both
No,
things
that's
either
so
do.
funny. I tell you why, because I was thinking that. Like, I love to have a selfie with him, but he'll never do it. But he takes so many selfies after he's had a workout in the mirror. So he's definitely,
Kirk.
that's a selfie, no?
No. Yeah.
What
yeah.
is it?
Oh, come on, like, look, we're not going to get into a little bicker
Okay,
here. But
we'll
it's Gaby,
leave that
yeah.
one. So who's the most fashionable?
Oh my God.
That's Gaby.
Oh my God. Adam, Dan, you're going to be listening to this. They'll vouch for me.
Yeah, it's Gaby loves designer clothes, and
Not only.
I'm not too bothered about that as long as it fits well. But no, Gaby she dresses very, very well. Coming from a family in fashion, I should hope so. And she ridicules me regularly for what I wear or don't wear.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
That was incredibly enjoyable. We delved into many different areas, and I can say that my first relationship podcast, I hope, everybody was a success.
Absolutely.
you.
Do you have any final words, Gaby, for the listeners?
No.
Relationship advice? One big takeaway? No.
Just stick at it.
Communicate.
Yeah,
Communicate.
big communicate.
Communicate.
Yeah, just always tell the truth. Guys, I know this is a little bit different to usual, but I really enjoyed it. Mark, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Great questions, and Gaby, thank you so much for beautiful articulation as always. And I'll end by saying I'm very, very lucky to have this lady, very inspired, and maybe we'll do this again in the near future. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.